everyone. Dan from DBaca Maker here, and I'm embarking on a new project. It's one of several projects that I've got going at once, but I'm just going to show them one at a time. This is a highly edited, shortened version of something that took me far longer than I thought it would. It's making a new knife block for our kitchen. Currently, we had two knife blocks, and they took up a lot of counter space, and one of them started falling apart, and they didn't fit all of our knives because these came with specific sets, and we have since moved on from those specific sets. And so the lady of the house, Kat, decided that I needed to, or asked if I would create a new knife block that would hold all our knives, plus a few extra slots, just in case we got a couple of more. And that's what this video is about. Now, so it took me a couple of weeks to build this because there was a lot of glue up time, and I had to let 24 hours go between gluing up and routing things out, and I had a bad back problem. So this is, again, a highly edited version of what I went through to produce a knife block, a unique design. I had intended one way, and the lady of the house had decided that it was going to be another way. So as far as the appearance, the final appearance of the knife block. But she's happy with what we did, what I did, and this is how I made it. So I'm starting off with this red oak. This was 5/4 by 10.5 inch, so that's 1 1/4 inch by 10.5 inches wide. I'm going to rip it down the middle. I've already cross cut it, and those are too rough dimensions because it's not an even cut. And I did not use this machine to do the cross cutting. I used the miter saw. The guard did not fly off, but it wasn't cutting a straight line for it to save its life. So I've got to go back and thoroughly reset that. But now I'm going to be, I've set up my radial arm saw for a cross cut or a rip cut. I have a rip cut blade in it right now, and it's not plugged in, so I can touch all this stuff, but as soon as I plug it in, it's going to get really noisy, so bear with me. Also, I made a mistake on the dimension of the wood. This is 8/4 or 1 3/4 inch. So 5/8 or 7/8 is the halfway point. We'll use my marking gauge then to set the halfway point. Well, let's get it right up against there. There we go. And then try to mark a line. But the idea then is, once I get this line established, I cut a kerf and a kerf and a kerf, ignore this side, to guide the bandsaw blade as it goes through the wood, to give me, keep it from straying as it goes along. Oops, went off the rails there. Come on, get back on. Get back on. There we go. Trying to keep this knife wall pretty thin, not much wider than the blade's going to be, so that I have less to account for when I start start having to sand it. All right, and then I do the same thing on the other side, and that helps guide the blade. Suppose you could say that it's really starting a cut rather than just a kerf that helps guide the blade. Okay, now on this side, run the famous knife wall. And then take it to the bandsaw. And here they are. This last one strayed off quite a bit. Fortunately, again, they're all going to get smoothed down, so they're going to be losing some height anyway. And they are still book matched. And start. Very light strokes. Now the idea here is you do them together so that if you make a mistake, you do a little bit of beveling or something like that, you still have a matched set. Right. And ideally, I would put in a little bit of a belly here in the middle, so that when I clamp these together, they actually have to join together at the ends, be compressed at the ends, and meet nice and neat in the middle. To do that, you just take a little bit off of the middle. It doesn't have to be a lot. All right, let's see how that's working. And yes, I do have Roy and Jess in the background. I might have to filter them out. Okay, so there's a little bit of a belly there. And there's a little bit of unevenness in the heights, but this looks like it's exactly what I want at the ends. So now I'm going to apply the tape and get these things ready for a glue up. I got it down to an acceptable level. I'm going to start. There's an ever so slight belly on this side of this board. And I think I got it. Yeah. technically want to let it set up for another, well, basically to the end of this day, so it had to have full 24 hours of cure time. But there it is upside down. Need some cleanup on the front, and maybe some infill. And the big thing is on the side. While this is all lined up and square on this side, these were never quite right. So I'm going to be squaring those up, and then I'm going to be taking off the squeeze out here, even up the back a little bit. And unlike other models, I was going to make this with the slanted back so that it sits on the counter, but I'm following a design that doesn't require that. So I'm just going to leave this as it is for now and start working on the knife block. The steak knife section that goes down below. Alright, so I let this sit for a little while longer. It's cured nicely. I've cut a 45-degree angle in the back that takes off that little step that was there. And it sits upright like this. I've tried the knives in it. They're a little close together, but they're okay. At that angle, that's going to be fine. So the next step is to build the foot that goes down here that holds this in its position securely. This is the best way, safest way to make a 45-degree cut on a radial arm saw. And I'm starting to depend upon this more than the miter saw just because of the slop in the miter saw. I took a measurement and multiplied it by the golden ratio, or did a golden ratio calculation to figure out how wide I should make these bands. And these are at 1 11/16 to the relationship of 10 3/4 of an inch of this block. So I took that off of the pieces that I had already cut, which had been 2 inches wide. And conveniently gives me some pegs for use in another project. This is going to go down the side and across the bottom on the top half. It won't be so much on the bottom half because that's going to be up against the counter, but I will do a little bit right down the side to even that out. And here we have the block. This is the last time you will see it in this condition. Her ladyship, my landlady, lady of the house, has requested that this be stained a sort of a colonial blue, but that this can remain a natural color. Now this is all sanded down to 40 grit right now. No, the top is 80 grit, the one of the sides is 40 grit because I had to take it to the belt. And then I'm going to take it down even further to 120, and then finally 220, polish up the surfaces. I'm going to be rounding over these edges. You can't see that. I'm going to round over these edges to take away some of this tear out. And then the faces, I'm going to hit these with Kona colored or special walnut, one of the two, to darken up these front faces, make them stand out from this, and this will complement or stand out from this, the blue that's going to be going over here, just to break up the profile. And I'm using these band corner clamps to join the unit together. I've dyed the front faces with Kona, and there are a couple of spots where I've got to, like right on this corner here, that I've got to sand back down, and then smooth it all out and hit it with the preservative. It's probably going to be tung oil. It's got some flaws, but nothing we can't live with. This is our knife block. So we can live with the flaws. So now I'm just applying some tongue oil. We'll let this set. Wow, that really makes that pop, doesn't it? Nice.